Alright guys, so Lil Wayne has a ghostwriter and he actually goes by the name of Aubrey Drake Graham. Yes, Drake was Lil Wayne's ghostwriter for one confirmed song and potentially others. But this absolutely does not matter and leaves no stain on Lil Wayne's legacy, and I'm going to explain why in this video. Now, Drake fans are going to be mad because everybody hates on Drake for having ghostwriters. We've heard the reference tracks from Quentin Miller, and most recently we heard a reference track from Vory for Drake's song Mob Ties. And after that, a Lil Wayne reference track leaked for his song I'm Single, which was performed and written by Drake. Now, if you were a hip-hop fan in the 2000s, then you probably have Wayne as one of your top 10 best rappers of all time. And a lot of hip-hop fans eliminated Drake from that best rappers of all time conversation because of the fact that he has writers who have confirmed written some of his songs for him. But there's a very big difference between the Drake reference tracks that have leaked and now this Lil Wayne reference track. And I'm going to explain why. First, we have to establish the fact that this I'm Single song that Drake wrote for Lil Wayne, it sounds like a complete Drake song. Everything from the subject matter to the rapping cadences to the production. And this song was initially released on Lil Wayne's mixtape No Ceilings. And if you were a Wayne fan back then you knew all the way back in 2009 that this song was written by Drake. The song blew up and it was supposed to also be featured on Lil Wayne's 2010 album I'm Not a Human Being. And on the track list, it even said that the song was going to feature Drake. So many fans thought that Drake wrote the entire song, and on the new album version that they were putting out, there would also be a new Drake verse on the record. And again, if you were a true Wayne fan, then you were probably waiting to hear this reference track because you knew since 2009 that Drake wrote this record. It sounds like a Drake record. Lil Wayne is on record stating that Drake wrote the song for him, and it was even supposed to feature Drake. I'm not sure why it never did. Now, there's a few reasons why Drake ghostwriting the song for Lil Wayne is very different from any of the ghostwriting allegations that have been made against Drake in the past, and why this reference track is completely irrelevant to Lil Wayne's legacy and his skill set as an actual rapper. The first and biggest reason is the fact that this is an R&B song. It features a very laid-back rapping delivery. There's no insane wordplay on this thing. It's a lot of just singing. Like Wayne is singing on the hook. He's just kind of telling a story about a female on the verses in a very laid-back way. Like, this song in no way was meant to show off any of Lil Wayne's lyrical skill set. And by that same token, this song was actually a very definitive track for someone like Drake. Again, this song sounds like a Drake song. This was the definitive Drake sound. And even Drake's producer, 40, had said that there was 2 songs that he produced that define the Toronto sound. Those were Successful by Drake and I'm Single by Lil Wayne. My guess is Drake probably wrote this song for himself or wrote it and gave it to Wayne, and this was a very common thing in the early 2010s. Drake was ghostwriting a lot of R&B records. If you guys don't remember, he ghostwrote Unthinkable by Alicia Keys and Fall For Your Type by Jamie Foxx. And there's even a reference track for Fall For Your Type by Jamie Foxx out there where it's just Drake performing the entire song. My guess as to why this song just leaked now, 15 years later, is because Drake's camp is probably trying to distract people from all the reference tracks that have leaked, which show other artists performing Drake songs. Just 2 weeks ago, Drake caught a lot of flack because a Mob Ties reference track leaked, and it shows that Drake basically came up with none of the flows and barely any of the lyrics in the hook or the verses of that record. I have a video where I kind of went into more detail on that, but why that was a big problem is because that Mob Ties record came out right after his beef with Pusha T, and a lot of the lyrics and the overall theme of that record were seemingly addressing Drake's entire situation with Pusha T and where he was kind of at that point in time within their beef. That was a highlight from his album Scorpion, which was kind of like his comeback album after the L that he took to Pusha T. And it rubs people the wrong way, no Diddy. I'm sorry guys, I said I would stop saying no Diddy. So it rubs people the wrong way hearing a reference track for a record like that, because that record was supposed to be, you know, not Drake's most lyrically profound record, but definitely a record that was personal to his actual situation that was going on at the time. So it's kind of weird to hear someone else completely rapping from Drake's perspective and basically giving him the entire framework and the entire finished product for him to just, you know, lay his own vocals down on it. And it makes you think, how many more personal Drake records were written by someone else? And what does that say to the authenticity of his music or his penmanship? On the flip side, this I'm Single song that Drake wrote for Lil Wayne was not a very personal record. It was a lighthearted R&B record, and it was at a time when Drake and Lil Wayne were in the studio quite a lot together, and Drake was really just at the beginning stages of forming his sound and that signature kind of dark R&B, moody Toronto sound with 40. And Lil Wayne using this reference track was almost just a way of kind of putting Drake on and incorporating Drake's sound into his world and introducing the entire world to Drake. If you guys watched Lil Wayne's The Carter documentary or really just kept up with Wayne's career at all, you would know that the guy's in the studio 24/7. He records like a machine. If you just followed the actual amount of music that has come out from Lil Wayne over the last 20 years, you would know that no artist can put out that amount of insane music at the quality and level that Lil Wayne has put it out and had such a signature sound, signature rapping styles, always known for coming with those punchlines, those metaphors, freestyles where he takes someone else's beat and kind of just makes it his own song. Like, Lil Wayne has been doing that for too long and given us too much music to ever question how serious he is as an actual MC. I mean, even on No Ceilings, which was the mixtape that the I'm Single record was on, aside from that one song which Drake wrote for Wayne, the entire mixtape is just comprised of Wayne destroying other people's beats, rapping like a complete machine non-stop on each record. I highly suggest you guys go check that out. That could be possibly Wayne's best, if not top 3 best mixtape of all time. He has insane freestyles on songs like Jay-Z's Run This Town, Gucci Mane's Wasted, or even Beyonce's song Sweet Dreams. So it's safe to say, even on the mixtape where that ghostwritten track was on, Wayne is still rapping like a beast and showing you guys that he's untouchable when it comes to the bars and the unique style that he brings. On the flip side, if a song like Something You Forgot by Lil Wayne, or Cry Out, or Trouble, or Let the Beat Build, or Dr. Carter, a reference track leaks for any of those songs, that's a completely different story because those tracks actually show Wayne at his lyrical peak. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't the first time we've heard of ghostwriting rumors from Lil Wayne, and way before Drake was even around, there was a rapper by the name of Gilly the Kid. You guys might know him now as the co-host of the podcast $1 Million Worth of Game. He was a big rapper in the early 2000s. He was actually almost signed by 50 Cent, but declined 50's offer. And I believe at one point in time, he was signed to Cash Money. If he wasn't signed, he was definitely doing some work with them. And he had a very public beef with Lil Wayne, where he claimed that he was ghostwriting a lot of Wayne's music around 2006. However, there was never a reference track that actually leaked. And Gilly was also claiming that Birdman never paid him for work that he did on Cash Money. So it's possible that Gilly was just upset because he never got paid for work that he did. So he came out and said that he ghost wrote for Lil Wayne as a way to get kind of like revenge on Cash Money. It didn't really matter though, because after all that, Lil Wayne dropped the Drought 3, which is, again, if not Wayne's best mixtape, then his top 3 best mixtape. It probably goes the Drought 3, then Dedication 2, then No Ceilings. But yeah, after Gilly the Kid came out and claimed that he wrote for Lil Wayne, Wayne basically drops the Drought 3, one of the best mixtapes of all time. This is when Lil Wayne was really in his prime. And on that mixtape, he rapped, "I'm a shark in the water, yeah, I swim with the big, so I don't have time to deal with Willie the Squid." This was a comeback at Gilly basically saying, like, I'm too big to even, like, engage in this beef with you, and I don't have any time to deal with you. And people at the time definitely questioned Wayne's pen to an extent when this whole thing happened, because Gilly put up a valid case as to why he was potentially ghostwriting for Lil Wayne. If you guys want me to do a whole deep dive on that situation, let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely make a video on that. But again, in my opinion, like, after dropping the Drought 3 right after this whole beef and basically dropping a slew of projects for the next 3-4 years, literally dropping like 2 projects and hundreds of features every single year for like 5 years straight, Wayne basically showed the world, like, there's no ghostwriter. There's no one that could kind of imitate this flow and this creativity and this originality. This is all me. So unless Wayne dished Gilly the Kid and got like the best ghostwriters in the world for the next 5 years straight, it's pretty safe to say, given the amount of output that we've had from Lil Wayne and the amount we've seen him in the studio, that he actually crafts his own bars. He doesn't even write them down. He just goes straight in the booth and just spits them, similar to how Jay-Z does it. There's plenty of interviews of Wayne talking about his creative process and actual videos and footage documenting Wayne in the studio creating the massive hits that we now know today. So again, Wayne having an R&B cut written by Drake and then just rapping over it is not very relevant when we know the skill set and the catalog that Wayne has brought to the game and the innovation. Whereas Drake, on the flip side, I would argue that If You're Reading This It's Too Late marked a massive career shift for Drake, where people started taking him a little more serious and stopped clowning him as this, soft guy. And it was records like Know Yourself, 10 Bands, No Telling, where Drake kind of really demonstrated this newfound confidence in himself and this new sound that was more aggressive. And in my opinion, that project served as a big character development aspect of Drake's career. And to find out that almost half of the project was completely written word for word by another artist, it was definitely a bad look. And I think that's the reason why so many people were shocked to hear that Quentin Miller wrote a lot of that project. Whereas when we found out that The Weeknd wrote a lot of songs on Take Care, people weren't as shocked because those were R&B records. A lot of times R&B artists have other people writing their songs. There's a different standard when it comes to lyricism and actual rapping. And then 10 years later, we hear this Mob Ties reference track, which shows Vory completely rapping the same flow, the same chorus, the same words that Drake rapped. And we all thought that was one of Drake's comeback records where he was talking about the beef with Pusha T. And it was songs like those that won the whole public back over onto Drake after that whole beef. So to know that records like that were written by someone else was definitely more disappointing and said something about Drake's creative approach way more than R&B reference track says about Lil Wayne's creative approach. But music is most definitely a collaborative sport, and we know that Drake has written actual hip-hop rapping reference tracks for guys like Kanye West, right? He wrote the song 30 Hours, he wrote the song Yikes, even apparently wrote Father Stretch My Hands. So it's obvious that Drake is a solid writer, and to have some R&B reference tracks is one thing, but it's much different when you have someone writing almost half the hip-hop records on your whole project. Whereas Wayne has showed us that he could put out dozens of mixtapes where it's just him straight freestyling on other people's beats. And aside from this, again, Wayne and Drake back in 2009 were recording a lot together and actually took a lot of inspiration and even lyrics, cadences, flows, and more from each other. A lot of people don't remember that Drake's song Best I Ever Had, which was like the first song that really blew Drake up in the mainstream, that song was a complete interpolation of a Lil Wayne song. Like the whole hook from Best I Ever Had was completely taken from the Lil Wayne song Do It For The Boy. The melody, some of the lyrics, all of that was taken from a Lil Wayne song that came out first. Go listen to Lil Wayne Do It For The Boy and then listen to Drake Best I Ever Had. It's almost as if Best I Ever Had is a reference track from Lil Wayne. And this was Drake's first and still is to this day one of his biggest hits of all time. It's almost like he was returning the favor by writing I'm Single for Lil Wayne, and it really shows that these guys were just probably in the studio every single day writing like crazy and even writing songs for each other. Wayne even rapped a Drake verse, Drake's verse on the song Money to Blow, word for word at the 2009 VMAs. Over a different beat, he was basically performing it like it was his own song. Drake even cites this as one of the moments that he knew he was going to make it, because at the time, So Far Gone hadn't even released yet. Drake had no real hits. He had just signed to Young Money, and the song Money to Blow wasn't even released yet, but Wayne performed Drake's verse on that song, that unreleased song, at the VMAs, rapping it like it was his own verse, and then shouting Drake out at the end of the performance, basically showing the world that this was his protege, and highlighting the collaborative nature that the two had together. They even have a song called With You off Wayne's album I'm Not a Human Being, and on that song, Wayne raps the first part of the hook, and then Drake sings the second part of the hook. But at the end of the track, Drake sings the entire hook, which would really make you think that Drake probably wrote this hook and just had Wayne rap part of it. So again, these guys have a long history of doing a lot of collaborations together, especially back in 2008 to 2010, they were working together all the time. Drake was on Wayne's tours, they were probably recording together every single night. And again, music is a collaborative sport, so it only makes sense that the two were kind of sharing hooks, going back and forth on song concepts, and even writing verses and full songs for one another. Drake was Wayne's protege and really brought an innovative style and sound to how to make a hit rap song. So it's only right that before the world was familiar with Drake's sound and his approach, that Lil Wayne would first introduce the world when he was on top of the world to Drake by incorporating Drake's writing style in his own music. Again, this is very different than Drake using Quentin Miller to write half of his If You're Reading This Is Too Late project. And with the catalog that Wayne has given us, it would be very hard to say he is not in that conversation of at least one of the most unique rappers of all time, if not the greatest, just because Drake wrote one of his more R&B leaning cuts. What do you guys think? I mean, it's obvious that at the beginning of Drake's career, him and Wayne both took turns writing for each other. And with the Gilly the Kid rumors, do you guys think that Wayne has probably had a ghostwriter or someone helping him throughout his entire career? Or do we owe all of his success to his own genius and his own penmanship? Is this different than the Drake reference tracks we've heard? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you guys in the next one.